Before we get into today's show, there's a message I want to leave. Towards the beginning of the month of January, I was forced to get a hold of authorities after information came to light regarding family members. And to the young lady that was involved in this is a message for you. Do not listen to what they say. You are not a slut. You are not trash. You do not deserve what is going on. Do not listen to them. You have people willing to take you in a heartbeat. But they don't want you to tell everybody what's really going on. And if the person responsible for this is listening to this message right now, yes, I am talking directly to you, you piece of motherfucking trash. We already know. We already know that you are nothing but a disgusting, diminutive maggot. You don't deserve those kids, and I'm gonna whoop every single one of you the next time I see you. I promise you that. You wanted to play this fucking game? Fine. But don't let me catch you next time. Because you will need the police to come save your ass. Because the only thing that's gonna save you from me is the fucking Gray Bar Hotel. I apologize for my temper, but this topic is something that pisses me off to my very core. And it's something that I'm researching upon just for statistical reasons in regards to my new book. My name is Dakota Frandsen, and if you were offended by that little tirade earlier, I do apologize for most of you. But I'm speaking in regards to the people who think they have a right to put their hands on a child, to put their hands on another human being, to take out their own emotions, because they are such insignificant people. So we're going to dig into why. This episode is going to be the reasons why abusers are the trash that they are. We're going to dig into the background behind these people. So maybe we can educate a diminutive public. We can educate people to avoid these things from happening. To get more people to stand up for victims. My name is Dakota Frandsen. I am the specialist of the strange. And this is something you're going to want to hear. If you're the type of person that gets easily offended by the truth, then what the hell are you doing listening to my show in the first place? I said bring it!
Hey everyone, Dakota Frandsen here, specialist of the strange. I just wanted to come with you real quick about potentially doing your own podcast. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? Maybe you got a lot of questions like, how do I record? How do I get my show into all these apps that are out there? How can I make money? There are probably several thousand other questions about getting this show off the ground that you have been formulating and communicating in your mind. And I'm here to tell you that there is a very simple answer to this. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing your show. And best of all, it is 100% free. Get all the perks from the other guys without having to pay for subscription fees. And best of all, it is easy. And in fact, Anchor can match you up with sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast right now, which means you can get paid doing what you love. Isn't that the fucking dream, my friends? In fact, that's actually what I'm trying to do right now by reading this ad for you. It is amazing. It helps ease the process for guests, putting on music, whatever you want to do. So if you want to start your podcast, make some money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and several other fabulous people already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. And I cannot wait to hear you on the air.
Now that I've had a chance to calm down, those of you who are listening to this, I need your help. I need to get a message out to someone. I can't reveal too many details other than she is someone who I have had to risk in order to try to help her. Risk a lot in order to try to help her. And because I spoke out and got the authorities like I am legally obligated to, I'm being treated like I'm the fucking abuser. And I'm not doing this episode to try to gain sympathy for anybody. I'm here to tell the facts. But before we do that, I need your help to spread this message. There's a young lady who I've had to help intervene. Unfortunately, the plan backfired, but it's the best I could do under the circumstances. Just share this message to your social media circles. She's underage, so I can't reveal a lot of information, but if we get enough people to share this, it'll probably get to her eventually. I know she likes to listen to my shows. If you can hear me, I'm sorry that I had to speak up and tell people. It's not right what's going on. And you already know that. But hang tight, kiddo, okay? I'm sorry if it got you hurt. I truly am. You do not know how much it's breaking. Bugger off. I'm sorry about that. Anyway. Kiddo, if you hear this, just let me know. Give me something so I know you heard it, okay? Give me something so I know you're okay. You're a smart kid. You'll figure it out. I'm sorry if this got you hurt. Believe me, it is breaking my heart. And I told you I've been through something like that before. And you can make it through this, alright? It's not your fault. None of it is on you. There's some other things we gotta talk about once the storm clears, but
It's not on you, kid. It's on them. And once again, I'm sorry. But I had to show. And if by somehow you're able to, computer, volume 3. If you're able to continue listening to this program, you may understand a few things better. Computer, volume 3. Volume, computer, volume 2. Sorry about that. If you're able to hear this message, and if you're able to hide that you're listening to this, switch it over to an other tab, open up a secret window, do what you gotta do. Well, you may understand a few things. Because we need to talk about why. Because for the rest of you, it really needs to be discussed why abusers become the people they are. So perhaps we can do more to prevent it.
Because there's some people out there who are obviously at the point of no return. The only way to get them to stop their actions is if they die. I know I'm probably going to offend a few people with that statement, but unfortunately it's the truth. Some people are just beyond the point of saving. They don't want to be saved, they want to live like that for the rest of their lives. So let's get into it. Enough rambling. You may be wondering, first off, what form of abuse I'm talking about. I'm talking about it all. Physical, mental, emotional, sexual abuse, verbal abuse, all of it. Why does it happen? The short answer, the most common situation, is that history is repeating itself in some form. The people who abuse others were likely abused like that at some point in their life. It could be by a parent, older sibling, uncle, aunt, mother, father, grandma, grandpa, weird lady down the street. Even younger siblings can abuse older siblings. It becomes part of a vicious cycle. It's already well known that kids who were abused will likely turn into abusers themselves. But it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to. Things going on, it doesn't have to be like that. Because more often than not, abusers may not realize it, but they're reacting just like scared little children. That's why bullying is a situation right now, just because so many of these... If you really look at the things going on with bullies, you may think that they're some pretentious rich kid, but their parents may not even be paying attention to them at home at all, so they just became seeded into those behaviors. And that in itself is abuse. Feeling like they're being abandoned by their own parents. And oftentimes, because we as humans are social creatures, we've adapted to rely on group situations in order to survive. The more numbers we have, the more likely we'll be able to learn and take on whatever situations come our way. Even people who prefer to be loners have a few people in their social circles that maybe will be willing to help them out. You have to really understand that the generic points is that the abusers themselves were likely abused in some way. But perhaps it's a good idea that we go through some examples. Maybe, and we also need to talk about situations due to like veterans with PTSD, unfortunately taking out their mental states, their aggressions on their loved ones at home. Because unfortunately that's something I've also had to deal with. It's definitely something I need to write about in my book. But let's say you're the sibling that always gets compared to another. Why can't you be more like this? Why can't you be more like your sister? Why can't you be more like your brother? Why can't you be more like your sister? That weighs heavily. To where you're going to feel a natural resentment, not necessarily towards your parents, as much, but you're also going to feel a resentment towards your sibling. So therefore you might try to take out your emotions on them. If even the slightest indications, slightest reminders, you may not even realize it in the moment that it's happening, but even the slightest reminders are enough to set you off. To where you might feel like you have to scream, "I'm not stupid," every time you get in a disagreement with somebody. Even though they give no implication of that. What's another example? Oh. Beating your significant other's children when they don't listen to you. When you yourself don't even want to be around anymore. All the case in mind, unfortunately, it's something we can actually see in a lot of animals. If a parent leaves or dies, the parent that's still around often goes to quote-unquote move on with someone else. And it's not often enough that we see step-parents in the wild. The parent that comes in may actually kill or abandon the young. Now you're saying, Dakota, you're comparing us to animals. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Because there are certain behaviors that are universal. But also keeping the abusive partner around just for the sake of making yourself look good is also abusive. Now, I'm not justifying his actions none the bit, but the parent that's taking out his emotions on the kids that aren't his is experiencing what's you know what, fuck it, no fancy terms for it. It's a grown-ass temper tantrum. I'll be honest, I'm no saint. There's been times where I've had behaviors where I don't want to say that they're abusive, but they can be interpreted as abusive or leading into them. And that's something we needed to discuss a little bit more, because not a lot of people realize how easy it is to slip into those patterns. We're going to go into that after this commercial break. Trust me, it'll all make sense here in a second. I know you're probably expecting information to be presented in basically the same format that you might see in a brochure for nonprofit organizations. And that's not what I'm wanting to do. I want to try to truly relate. And hopefully hopefully get the right thoughts popping into the right people's mind to where it's probably a good idea to where hopefully, I should say, to where hopefully we can get some better changes coming around. Before the break, I was starting to lean into just how easy it is to fall into abusive patterns. And I want to give some examples. And I'll be honest, a couple of these are ones that I fell into, and I honestly deeply regret them. But I've done a lot of soul searching, and I've even attended therapy to try to confront why these situations were happening, and everyone who's stuck by me the longest can vouch for me on this. I have gotten better, and I feel a lot better too. A lot of the situations that put me into this mindset, these mindsets don't bother me as much, or when they do, I'm better equipped to handle them. So let's get into it. Let's start from a young age. I want to talk to some of the kids that I know do listen to my shows from time to time. And that's okay. Y'all are welcome here. Do you know someone at school, maybe even just in your neighborhood or at daycare, who tries to act all big and bad? Always seems like they're angry. But the second that something happens to maybe make them feel stupid, they lash out. Perhaps you yourself felt this way. You just got angry and hurt someone else. Maybe not a kid at school, but maybe your sibling. Maybe you hit them because their way they talk, they normally just irritated you and you just found annoying, was suddenly a little too much. Maybe you yourself feel as if your parents hate you. Like perhaps maybe your sibling is the favorite. Despite you knowing damn well that your sibling is no saint. That they're doing all sorts of shit that your parents seem to ignore. Doesn't that make you angry? Or maybe you have a cousin that's making fun of you. Maybe, he likes to joke around, and maybe his jokes tend to go a little too far. So you only get madder and madder and madder until you want to scream like you think you're the fucking Hulk. And the second the person that's irritating you realizes that they're getting to you, they aggravate you even more. Just because. So it's sounding like someone you know? It's okay. It's okay. We're all friends here. Now let's get a little older. Maybe your parents are constantly hammering on you for things that you didn't do. All of a sudden they turn into drill sergeants. Every time you come home mad, they start drilling you down like you're the fucking serial killer. Maybe you have guys in gym class constantly harassing you, trying to wrestle with you, making fun of you, making jokes. Maybe they take things a little too far. Maybe you're different. Your head doesn't quite work right. You have funny little quirks and twitches that you get made fun of all the time for. Maybe you're like me. Maybe through no fault of your own, really, you just happen to grow a little faster than the rest of your class. Maybe you have unfortunate eating habits because you indulged a little too much in comfort food. You got a bit of a belly. Maybe you're in school and you're learning about the Buddhist culture and how in certain countries fatter people tend to be treated better. Someone looks to you like and says, you'd be treated like a god there. Thinking that that's going to be an insult. I've actually had that happen. And you know what? It was one of the best feelings in the fucking world. But I'll go into that later. Perhaps you're starting to feel like you're being backed into the corner because of all this. To where you want to have something on you. So that you can make it all end, make it all stop. Maybe you want to do something to yourself. Maybe the thought of making it all go away just seems a little too appealing. Or maybe you go the other way. You want to make them pay. And you want to carry something in. And you want to start hurting people. Going to places where you don't care if you're going to make it out. You don't care if someone's going to stop you. You're just going to keep going. And finally, when everybody looks at you with fear in their eyes, start screaming, knowing that you were the one that hurt them instead. It's kind of a nice feeling, ain't it? Makes you feel powerful. Something you never felt before. Let's go into adulthood. You start dating this nice girl. You think that maybe she's the one. And suddenly, she goes to attack you for no reason. I mean, completely try to tear you apart. Because of something small like forgetting to do the dishes, taking out the trash. Taking a little too long to answer the phone. Or maybe you're on the other side of that. You start dating a guy, it all seems good, but the second you two start getting comfortable, he starts calling you bitch, whore, slut. At night, perhaps had a little too much to drink. Maybe he's just feeling in the mood. He grabs you, squeezes your arms to the point they bruise, smacks you around till you start feeling tasting blood. Am I disturbing some of you? Good, so maybe you'll get the fucking point. Perhaps you had a bad day at work. And all of those little annoyances from everybody around you. Things you would normally be able to blow off as, oh, that's not important. Oh, that's not important. The littlest thing sets you off, and you tear into everybody you see without any provocation. Let's make you a little older. You're married now. And suddenly you see that your husband or wife is staying long nights. Calls you idiot, stupid, worthless. Are you starting to see what I mean? Perhaps you're someone who can't handle their alcohol, but you just love the taste. And you can't remember why or how you got the bruises. You chalk it off as, oh, I slipped and fell on some ice. Well, what kind of rock did you land on to make it look like you got hit with a baseball bat? Or you got knocked out by Mike Tyson? You seeing my point here? Little things. Little things, it's all it takes for this cycle to start. Then soon, maybe, you have kids of your own. Every time they whine, you just get madder and madder. To the point that you wonder even why you had them in the first place. You don't even want them around. But you have to, because you're the parent. You're the one that's got to take care of them. But they just won't shut up. Little things. All it takes. And often we wonder, why is it our loved ones stay with these people? Why do they stay around if these things are happening? That's the tricky part, and what we need to go into for the rest of this episode after this next commercial break. Well, I hope this episode is making sense to some of you, because it's not hard for these abusive patterns to repeat. And there's a lot more I can go into. Veterans who come home and abuse their families. I did say I was going to dip into that a little bit. The horrors of war changes a person. The trauma associated with war, child abuse, abusive situations of any kind, really, literally alters the brain chemistry. So while those of you who do try to use the age-old excuse that depression, anxiety is all in your head, well, yeah, dumbass, that's where the brain's located. Now, I'll admit, there's a lot of people out there who cling to these types of things when their quote-unquote anxieties are really just nerves. I'll be honest. And this is related to my situation, and there may be quite a few people that relate to it, but people who have issues with anxiety, I honestly suggest they try to go into some sort of public platform. Several celebrities have these types of issues as well, and going into public arts creative venues are often suggested avenues by therapists in order to help cope and handle events of mental illness. part of the reason why all of my fictional works does include references to real life events, because I want to try to still make it relatable but entertaining, to where the mind gets to escape a little bit, because when the mind has a chance to just kind of relax, it can fire off some of the most brilliant ideas out there. Hence why a lot of the most life-changing events, life-changing inventions, and life-changing works can often be things done by mistake. Some of the best pieces of art could literally just be some guy zoning out and painting a picture. Abuse does not have to define you. It's a part of you. Yeah. You can't change that fact. But think of it more as seeds. You went through some shit. Maybe you need to reach out and get some advice on how to plant the seeds and how to care for them accordingly, so you can grow the right flowers, grow the right trees. You can make entire gardens out of trauma. You can still make bad things turn into something beautiful. It's possible, and it happens every single day. And I know there's a lot of you who don't like it when I dip into topics that aren't necessarily paranormal, but this is something that honestly needs to be addressed, because it is currently the section of my new book I'm working on, the handbook many of you have suggested I write, so you can all take on supernatural events on your own. Or what was it? But these traumas can also spill into paranormal related areas. It can affect how you perceive things. It can make you more open to certain things. It can also close you off to a lot of things. It can alter your world enough to where even the supernatural elements in your life may reflect it. Situation I would call post-traumatic psychosomatic manifestations, or Carrie syndrome. It's something I've talked a lot about on this show and a lot of on my other projects, my other appearances rather. So I want to try to close out this episode with a simple plea. If you or someone you know is going through an abusive situation, and even if it's only a suspicion, reach out, get help before it's too late. All those situations where a parent slamming down on a child that won't do their homework can turn into a suicide, to a parent burying a child that decided to take their own life to get away from said parent. Let's avoid those situations. All of those deaths where the kids are taking their own lives, where people are taking their own lives in order to escape their abusers. We can stop that. We can. It is possible. But we need to be more open, be more caring to one another. Check in to those you might not think need help, because oftentimes they're the ones who are the worst off. Check in from time to time. You don't even have to allude to anything going on. Just say, hey, haven't heard from you in a while, just wanted to check in. Simple as that. You can save a life with simple kindness. And that's something a lot of people don't get. You can save a life with simple kindness. It is possible. But because we choose to focus on dick. Sorry. But because we choose to focus on the Grammys, the Oscars, the latest Marvel movies, because we try to focus more on the routes we use to escape the situation, we're leaving a lot that if more people stepped up and at least said something and did something in order to cause a change to happen, we wouldn't have to rely on the creative arts to help us move on from these things. Some of you wouldn't have to rely on the occult in order to get a sense of self-empowerment. I'm not judging you. It's been happening for thousands of years. If we decide to be more open, honest, caring people, if we choose to model ourselves as the person we would run to in a time of need, maybe we see a lot better change in the world. And maybe if we stop punishing those who do step up, we'd have more heroes in this world. Because we see a lot of that. I've been on the tail end of that too. You are not alone. You are never alone. There are people out there who will help you. People out there who are seeing the exact same thing as you. You are not alone. You are not crazy, and it is not your fault. I want you all to hear this. All of you who have dealt with abusive situations like this, who deal with mental illness of any kind, really. Whether you have borderline personality disorder, dissociative identities, post-traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder, any. It's not on you, and it will be okay. Things will work out. And if someone's not willing to be a hero, be your own hero. Step up, and if you absolutely have to, do whatever it takes to fight back. Your life is worth it. That's it. Your life is worth it. Your being on this earth may seem like an accident at first, but we live in a time when there's great change. A lot of turmoil, but great change. And I'm going to say this because I've been in the position too, but there's some of you who have even said that you're afraid to have children because you're afraid of repeating the cycle. You don't necessarily have to have children. You can adopt a child. And yes, there's a lot of reform that needs to go on in that area as well. You don't have to explain that part to me. But you can adopt a child. Be the hero that you needed for that child. And oftentimes, the people who are most conscientious about what caused their parents to become the abusive people that you are afraid to become, those of you who acknowledge that that's the case, acknowledge that it's a possibility, but also acknowledge the reasons behind it, to know the stories that created the people into the version of themselves you see in that moment. Doing your best to understand the full picture will change everything and will open the way to make things better. And that's all I gotta say on that. While we do have a little bit of time left, I want to discuss a couple of things. Looks like I have a couple cases in the talks right now, which I'm excited for. It's been a while since I've been on a good hunt. Also, in case you didn't catch last week's episode about the hunt for Infinite Earth, the experiment has been expanded to maybe go after God. And as soon as I hang up here, I'm going to go publish the next audio test that resulted in making contact with none other than DC Comics' John Constantine. And we'll see what that has to lay in wait. And as we go forward, more experiments will be done. The book is coming together even better. And I know it'll seem kind of late by the time this episode drops, but earlier this week, yesterday, basketball player Kobe Bryant passed away in a helicopter crash along with his daughter and 7 other people. From the sounds of things, the latest I heard that the manifest, there was at least 9 people on that chopper. But I want to extend my condolences to the Bryant family. I want to be honest, I'm not a big sports fan, but it's truly tragic what happened. At the time of recording this, the reason why the chopper went down is still unknown. But the fact that Bryant's daughter was also a victim in that crash is enough for me to share my condolences. I never really was a fan of Kobe Bryant, but I got a thing when kids are involved. It gets under my skin, not like anything else. As some of you have probably already figured out. So that's what the latest updates from me. I do hope you enjoyed this episode. Be sure to tune it in next week. So we'll see. What do we got? Actually, on the 28th. Ooh, it's leap year this year. Huh. On the 28th, where... You know what? I honestly don't have an episode topic in mind right now, so let's leave it for a surprise. I do hope you all had a wonderful Valentine's Day last week. I'm going to try to release more information. Also, if you haven't seen it already, I'm dropping designs from the Hunt for Infinite Earth on my Art of Aware store. Please do check that out. And we are also in talks to make radio show appearances, so please do keep an eye on my social media. The link to be able to access that is in the description below. If you want to catch my latest interviews, I think that's everything. Be kind to one another. Like I said, if you or someone you know has been a victim of abuse, reach out, get help. You don't have to let that moment define you. It will always be a part of you, but how you let it change you and let you evolve will define who you are as a person, not what they did to you. It is not your fault. I'll see you next time, my friends. I wonder what we'll say.